You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Unlock Your Life. This is Jennings Smith, your host. I am actually in my car. I've got a mobile microphone because my kitchen is getting renovated and there's a bunch of people over there and it's really loud, but I wanted to get this episode done because nobody is talking about supply and demand and how important demand is and why you're not selling your product, why it isn't working, because I believe most people are outstripping the demand. So let me tell you what I mean by that. In my world, I raise capital, which means I try to get investors to give me their money so that I can buy apartment complexes or self-storage, or I can borrow it to buy foreclosures or whatever. My goal, one of my businesses, is to generate demand for my services. My services are, I can provide you opportunity where you can make money in a reliable and hopefully safe manner and make a great return. And so when you are generating too much supply, right? There's too much supply. You have a new deal every week, or maybe you have multiple deals going at once. It's really hard to attract the money consistently. So if you think about a relationship, right? You see a friend and you haven't seen them in months, right? Maybe this was an old college buddy or even years. When you see them, you have a lot to catch up on. You're super excited to chat. What have they been up to? How are the kids? Are they going on vacation? What trips have they taken? You're catching up. There's exciting new information. There's demand for that relationship. Versus if that person stays with you for 2 weeks, stays in your house, eats every meal with you, watches TV with you, hanging out, is always constantly there for 2 weeks straight. At the end of the 2 weeks, you're most likely ready for them to pack their bags and get going. And so when I am generating demand, right, I want the supply to be always less than the demand, right? I always want to have more investors fighting to get into the deals because one, my deals are so good, and two, because they're somewhat far and few between, right? So it trains them to act, right? When there's an opportunity, I want to act. I want to be in one of Jennings's deals. And if I drag my feet and if I am, not quick to respond to his email or his text, I'm going to get left. The deal's going to fill up. He's going to move on. And so over the last few years, I've kind of crafted this so that when I do have a deal, the deal fills up right away. That's kind of my goal. That's my perfect reality. If I can create that time and time again. So I also created a product called the Deal Room. The Deal Room is my mentoring program, and it's part of my free Facebook group, My First Million in Multifamily, except this is a paid group. You have to pay to be in it. It's $397 a month, and there's about 360 people in there right now. And so when I first started, I kind of had open-ended supply, right? I had open-ended supply. You could join the Deal Room whenever you wanted. I didn't have like a limit on how many people I was willing to take. It's kind of like if you were willing to pay and join, then I was willing to take you in. Then we switched it to an application process, right? Where we constricted the supply a little bit. We slowed the supply down where you had to have a successful application to get in. And the application wasn't super strict, but there was definitely a process there where how many units do you already own? What are you looking to do? Are you in full-time real estate right now? And then we would ask them if they're ready to commit and ask them to put down a deposit so that we could review their application. And that culled out a lot of tire kickers, a lot of people that wanted to submit an application, and then we would reach out to them and they would never pay, they would never join, they would never do it. And it was a massive time waster, and it made us look weak, right? We are now pursuing them to try to join the mentoring program versus being pursued. Business raising capital, all this stuff is a lot like dating. It's a lot like when you're trying to ask out that girl you like, or get a girlfriend, or convince your girlfriend to marry you if you're going down that road. And human psychology, the art of seduction, the art of getting someone to like you, getting someone to be interested in you, is very different than just the front, like revealing your intentions, brute force. You walk up to a girl and say, I love you. You're so beautiful. I want to be with you forever. Like, will you please go on a date with me? That is not going to go over well, right? That is not going to go over well because the supply is overwhelming the demand. Maybe the demand on her side is a little bit like, hey, she thinks you're cute. She thinks you're interesting. Maybe you said a funny joke or two, but there's limited demand there for you and for your time. And when you overwhelm her with supply, right, you're at her beck and call. You're willing to go out on any date or drop any plans with your friends to cater to her whim. That's not going to end well for you, right? Because you're over supplying the demand. And so over time, as the relationship matures, the demand and the supply evens out, and you get into a long-term trusting relationship, and the dynamic changes a little bit, but the underlying tones are still there, even in married couples that have been together for a long time. So the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder, there is some truth to that, even in the business side. So when we were oversupplying the market with the deal room, or maybe we're posting too many deals, we're trying to raise too much capital at one time, we're overwhelming our demand, then we started to really struggle with filling up the deal room and getting people to jump off the fence and commit to the deal room. We were still getting, signups, because you're always going to have raving fans and people that want to do it. But we got to a level where we were kind of stuck there. And so what I did was I started to look into this concept and also look into, how do I increase demand, right? I know I can restrict supply, and I'm going to do that. So there's two sides of this equation. We're going to break down each one of them. So one, how do we decrease supply and how do we increase demand? Increasing demand is a little harder than restricting the supply. Both are effective, but you need both, right? Because if you just restrict supply, and there's no demand, you're still not, achieving your outcome. So restricting supply, step one, we started with the application. Step two, we restricted supply by having a limit on how many people we would take per month. So this was twofold. It made it more exclusive. We only took in 15 people per month. So if we got 16 applications, 17 applications, after 15, we closed the application process down. You could not get in. Now, we would allow you to wait for 2 months and maybe get in on the next tranche. And I was really nervous about doing that, about making people wait over 60 days sometimes to get into a program. And remember, they had already paid, right? Because we would not even review their application until they paid. So they paid the $397, and now they can't get in my mentoring program for 60 days. Would they wait? Would that backfire? And people will wait longer than you think if they are intrigued, if they think what you have is truly going to benefit them. And it really is a power play of restricting that supply so that we can build up desire in them, build up demand that they want to get into the deal room. And then when they finally do get into the deal room, it's going to be worth it, and they're going to make it worth it, and they're going to participate, and they're going to be a raving fan because they're going to get results. So that was one thing that we did to restrict the supply. So we limited it to 15. That was smart. Secondly, we upped the ante. So we said you have to have already owned real estate to get in. You have to have already owned a rental house or two, or a duplex or quadplex. You don't have to be an experienced multifamily syndicator, because that's what we're coaching on and teaching on. But you got to have some traction with real estate, or you have to have owned your own business. You have to be your own, like an entrepreneur type. And the reason we did that was, one, to restrict the supply and make it more exclusive, make it more difficult to get into the room. And secondly, we did it to increase our chances of success, right? We found that people that were coming in on fumes, that had never closed any real estate deals, didn't own any real estate, and didn't own a business and they were working a full-time job, more often than not, they were not going to succeed, because it wasn't that our tactics weren't sound or what we were teaching or training on, but they just could not commit the time and effort to doing that. And so when that happened, then, our success ratio goes down. And I want everybody that commits and is in the deal room to close deals, because that's another reason we're going to grow, is they're going to tell their success stories. So we heightened the bar on that. You had to have that. And then we also started raising the price. The deal room started at $150 a month or $250 a month if you hadn't bought our course. Then it moved to $297, then it moved to $347, now it's at $397. And so that also increased the perceived value. Now, remember, I'm going to talk about how we increase the demand by making our product better, but restricting the supply, we're making it more expensive. We're making it more exclusive. And we're making it more painful to pay for this, so that when you do it, again, you pay attention, you actually do the work, you get results, and that makes me feel good, because the deal room really is a small piece of my net worth. I mean, everybody listening can do math. I mean, yes, we're making money, but net worth wise, compared to the real estate stuff that we've bought, it takes up a lot of time, effort, and is a pretty small piece of our overall net worth. And so the reason we're doing it is to build relationships with people, to help them. It's fulfilling. I love it. Also, those people, some of them may end up investing with me. Some of them may bring me a deal that they need a partnership or help on. I can partner with them. And so there's other ancillary benefits to the deal room besides just making the money every month. Because that really, if that was the only reason, I don't know that I would do it. But I really do enjoy the intrinsic value of getting the message like, hey, you changed my life. This changed my life. I closed my first deal. I'm able to quit my job that I hate. That's cool to me. That's really cool to me. And it's well worth it. So this is how, and then the final thing we did to restrict supply was we capped the deal room at 400 people. So right now we're at, a little over 350, and we're taking on 15 people a month. So within, 3 months, it will be capped at 400, no more applications, no more general admission. And then the only way to get in the deal room is if somebody drops out. So that also is trying to build more of a culture, right? Versus this is a churning cycle. We're building a community here. We're building something that you want to be a part of. And if you drop out, then we're not saying we wouldn't let you back in at some point, but it may not be so easy. And the price will definitely be higher. And you may have to wait 4, 5, 6 months before you get to the top of the list where you can get back in, right? So these are things that are all increasing or decreasing the supply. And I'll tell you, every single one of them was scary to do. It was scary to do. The same thing with my apartment money raises. So 506C is where you blast out to the whole world, Facebook, email list, all that you have a deal and they can invest in it. And it's only for accredited investors, but you are allowed to market it. And then 506B, which is, it can be anybody, right? They don't have to be accredited investors, but you can't market it. And so you have to go with like a softer, subtler touch where you're only talking to people you're already connected with. You're shooting out texts. It's a little bit more time consuming. However, it's very, very effective because you are restricting the supply. You're making it more exclusive. You're making it more difficult for them to get into deals. If they don't already know you and they don't already have a relationship with you, they're not getting into your deals. And so it's just building that mystique, right? People want what they can't have. They want what they can't have. So you always have to be providing a channel for them to get their desire. But once it's delivered, they've got it, right? That's the end game. They got what they wanted, and now they don't want it anymore, kind of thing. So that's where we flip to the other side of the equation is how do you continually increase the demand? This is huge for me. And the only reason why restricting the supply on my real estate deals and restricting the supply on the deal room and other businesses that I've done is because I have worked on increasing the demand. So the way that I've increased the demand is by this. People want an outcome, right? They really, really want an outcome. So let's take the avatar of a deal room person, somebody in the Facebook group that they really, really want to close a big multifamily deal. Maybe they've got a couple rentals, but they're looking to make that jump. They're looking at how fast can I get there and how much effort am I going to have to put in? Like, what's my likelihood of success? So is it easy and fast and I can do it? And is it guaranteed like it's going to work for me? Like, how much do they believe that it's going to work for me, and how much effort are they going to have to put in, and how fast can they make it happen? And when you can attack those three things and you can make it clear in their mind that if they follow this process, if they do this program, if they invest in your deal, it is a sure thing that they're going to make money. They're going to close the deal. They're going to make a good investment, right? Secondly, how fast, how long is it going to take, and how much work are they going to have to do versus how much work are you going to do for them? I love the example of working out, right? So you've got Planet Fitness, which is $20 a month, no contract, no commitments, very, very low fees. But the work required is hard, right? They're not going to hold you accountable. You don't have a coach there. They're not calling you. They're not checking your diets. They're not creating custom diets. They're not sending you food in the mail. They don't care. They want your $20, and they really don't even want you to show up to the gym. And so the level of success is very low. The level of effort required for the customer is very, very high. And so people are not willing to pay much money for it. There's a reason why Planet Fitness is $20 a month, is because people aren't willing to pay much more than that, I guess. I mean, I'm sure that if Planet Fitness could charge more, they would. Then you take into consideration plastic surgery, right? You can get a gastric bypass. You can get a whatever that is where they suck the fat off your stomach. I don't know what that surgery is called, but you have instantaneous almost results, right? So the speed is absolutely there versus you need to work out and eat clean for a year before you look different. So this is like, boom, within a week, you're going to be looking way different. The effort required is not much. I mean, you got to pay for it, but that's it, right? You pay for it, they put you under, you wake up and boom, you're skinny. You've lost 25 pounds of fat or whatever the surgery is that you're doing. And the surety of will it work? I mean, boom, case study after case study, before and after pictures of instantaneous results. And that is why the cosmetic surgery or fat loss surgery industry is huge, like $300 and something billion a year. Humongous industry, and people are willing to pay $20,000, $30,000, whatever, or more for one surgery versus $20 a month for Planet Fitness. Do you see the correlation, right? Planet Fitness is going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of effort on my part, and I'm probably going to fail at it. So how much am I willing to pay, and how much demand is there? Not much. Versus plastic surgery, it's instantaneous, it's definitely going to work, and it's going to require very little to no effort on my part. It costs a lot of money. I don't care because I want my result. And that's where, when you can understand that with what you're offering and you start to isolate, how can I make my product more like plastic surgery and less like Planet Fitness? Think about that. How can you make your product more like plastic surgery and less like Planet Fitness? So what I did with the deal room was I wrote out everything like that my client wanted, all the problems that they were facing, right? So they can't find a deal. They don't have a network. They don't know any brokers. They have no money. They don't know how to raise down payments. They don't know how to create compelling pitch decks. They're not good at sales. They don't know how to underwrite. They don't know how to operate deals, on and on and on. All the problems that they're facing. I mean, I laid out and labeled every single last one of them. Then we created solutions around some of them. And some of them we already had solutions around them. Some of them we didn't. But we created solutions around all of these problems. And then we went crazy, outlandish, down to very, very basic. So, for example, let's say you don't know how to raise money. Well, there's one end of the spectrum is I fly to your town, I move in with you, for a month solid. And every day we make calls to investors, we create pitch decks, we post on social media, we build our fire, and we attract investors. And I guarantee you, by the end of that month, you will have at least $1 million in soft commitments, probably more, of people that are willing to invest with you in your next deal. However, that's going to take a whole lot of effort on my part, and it's not scalable, right? I can only do that with one person at a time, and I have a family. I got 4 kids. I got a wife. My wife, Jessica, definitely not letting me, go live with random people and teach them how to raise capital. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is I go all the way to the extreme, and then there's different pieces and parts in between, because you have the done for you, you have the done with you, and then you have the you do it yourself type products. So the done with you would be, okay, I'm creating a capital raising course. I'm having a sprint. We're having a 6-week sprint where we're holding you accountable. We're telling you, we're building scripts. This is exactly what you say to a client when you call them up. This is exactly how you build your investor database. This is what you post. I could create a social media guide on exactly what to post, examples. I could have a VA service that creates the posts for you. On and on and on, and creating varying degrees of solutions to this big problem that my client has. And then here's where the magic happens, is you pick out the stuff that is you're able to build. Maybe it's hard, or maybe it's expensive to build it the first time, but eventually it's not hard or expensive to keep it ongoing, and it's scalable, right? And those are the things that you want to pick out and create as demand generators, where you can show them empirically that you're going to help them get to their goal without a shadow of a doubt. It's going to be a sure thing if they follow this, and it's not going to be that hard, right? It's going to be as easy as possible without costing them, $100,000 for us to fly out to your house and live with you for a month, because I'm not doing it. So that's the point. And we did that on everything. Deal flow, like we connected with a software that gets off-market deal flow and how to do all that. We built scripts on how to cold call brokers, how to cold call apartment sellers, how to cold call property managers, how to generate leads that way. We built a cryptocurrency based around the deal room to add value. And so we just kept building layer upon layer upon layer of solving our clients' problems in a really deep and meaningful way to make their lives easier and make them get their results faster and in a more sure thing. And the demand took off, right? The demand for that product took off. And the other thing was we showed social proof, right? As our students started closing deals, we would just screenshot it and post it in the group. Hey, look, another deal, another deal, another deal. Here's another contract of the deal room. Here's another contract accepted. Here's another deal closed. Here's another $1 million raised. Here's the results of our 6-week sprint, et cetera, et cetera. And so over time, now I get messages, oh yeah, I've been sitting on the sidelines watching you guys for 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, and now I'm finally joining. You're the real deal. I know it's real. I know it's going to work for me. We've built that belief that this will work for me, because if people believe that it will work for them, what's $397 a month? That doesn't matter. The cost doesn't matter if you're going to close a $5 million apartment deal. If you're going to generate $20,000 a month in passive income for the rest of your life, if you're going to get a $100,000 acquisition fee, like what does $397 a month matter? The only reason it matters is if they don't think it's going to work for them, and they think there's just going to be another thing that they try and then they fail at, and it didn't work for them, and they feel dumb and they're mad at themselves and they move on. And that's why people don't do stuff. It's not necessarily that they don't believe in it. Just like with investing, if they truly believe, hey, if I throw in $100,000, I'm going to get back $200,000 in 4 or 5 years, I'm doing it. If they truly believe that that's going to happen, and they trust the area and the operator and all these other factors, if you've solved all those problems, then they will invest. And you can break that down the same way. So with an investor, what are they facing? Well, they don't know much about real estate. They're not educated about real estate. They don't know the area. They don't know how to analyze an area. They don't know how to understand the complex underwriting. They don't know you that well. They don't trust the team, et cetera, et cetera. And then figuring out solutions around each one of those, and then figuring out something that can scale. Something that you can work on one time. Okay, a credibility package, a little video on the team, a little blurb about here's the market that we're investing in. Here's why we like it. How to break your underwriting down into simple, understandable, clear facts, to key in on the things that they care about and brush over the things that they don't really care about and will just confuse them and it's really going to hurt you versus help you. So getting good at this stuff is the only way to grow and making your products better. And when I committed to that, to say, I'm not just going to like half-ass this, I'm going to make the deal room as the best thing that I possibly can. I can over-deliver. If I can make it so good and I can limit the demand or limit the supply, then there will always be excess demand. I will always be able to bring people in whenever I want. If I limit the supply and I make it just so good that it's undeniable so that everybody that's looking at this product knows, hey, this will work for me, then I've got something that I can build. Got something that will work. The same thing with my deals. If I can generate something that's just so powerful where they're getting 10% on their money while their money's tied up in the deal, they're getting all their capital back in 1 to 2 years. We're refinancing them out. We're not cutting down their equity. They're going to get money in perpetuity forever. And they're going to get a piece of the pie when we sell it or refinance it again in the future. That's pretty compelling, especially if they like the area, they like me, they like the operators. That's somebody that is going to throw money at our deals and feel very, very confident in doing so. And then there's the track record just reinforces that as we go along. But creating these deals, when I go to raise money for deals and when I choose deals that I want to be involved in, that I want to take down, I'm always looking at that from the viewpoint of the investor, right? Is this going to get my investor excited? Is this going to bring so much value that they are fighting to get into this deal? Those are the kind of deals that I want to be putting in front of my investors. And if it's just an average, mediocre, run-of-the-mill deal, not only is that going to be hard to fill, it's going to hurt my reputation too as, well, wait a minute, he's putting stuff in front of me that really isn't that good. And maybe they'll do it just because of working with me in the past. But then the next one I bring and the next one I bring to try and fill the pipeline and just keep closing multiple deals, they're going to start thinking twice about that. And they're going to say, these deals really aren't that compelling. They're not that good. And all of a sudden, I have a demand issue. I have an oversupply and a demand issue, and I can't fill my deals up with capital, which is obviously not what I want. So guys, that's what I got for you today. Supply and demand, human psychology. I know this was a little bit specific about things that I've been working on. Hopefully you can translate that to whatever you're doing, you know, as an attorney, even as a doctor. I mean, like, say, oh, doctor, what do you, like, if you are in a field, the guys that hone in and are going to get so good at being this type of neurosurgeon, they make the money, right? They're the ones that are in demand. They're the ones that there's an absolute glut of supply because everybody wants the best. Same thing with really anything. Plumbers, electricians, home builders. I mean, you see the best of the home builders. When I was in that industry, the top 1%, yes, all the builders are fighting for those best clients, but the people that have the money and they just want it like awesome, they're willing to pay whatever it takes to get that builder and his sub base and his trades and get on his schedule to build the home of their dreams that they're going to spend the rest of their life in. So the price starts to not matter as much. So this is what I would love to hear from you is, how did you apply this to your business? How did you apply this to what you're working on? Shoot me a DM, shoot me a message. I had a guy message me today and he was like, oh, wow, I'm surprised that you replied. Shoot me a message. I will get back to you. I try to get back to everybody that messages me, and I love to have a conversation with you, hear what you got going on. So have a great week, and remember to unlock your life. Peace.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.